Hey, what it is, what it do, everybody? It's your boy, it's your man's, Eggman here. Eggland's best, the whitest egg you'll ever meet. Hey guys, how's it going? How you doing? Just thought I might do a little video because today actually is a beautiful day. It was a gorgeous day here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Should be around 90 degrees today. It's been that way the last couple of days. Been warm afternoons, supposed to be mostly cloudy, but hadn't really much been going on with that. Got the new, of course, dynamic professional YouTuber setup here. And as you may notice, oh my God, something has happened to my 80 pounds of hair. I went to bed the other night and I said a little prayer. I said, dear baby, dear black baby Jesus, when I wake up, may I look like George Michael. And the hair was just getting to me, man. Getting to my brain, growing into my brain stem, telling me things, the crazy thoughts like, the Trump tariffs are going to work and Elon Musk builds a hell of a fucking vehicle. I had to get rid of it. So I just prayed to, of course, the black baby Jesus, as you do, or God or Allah. I mean, I kind of covered my bases because I don't know who's up there really. So I just kind of prayed to everybody real quick. And then woke up and my God, my hair was gone. It's a miracle. And I thanked all the 75,000 deities I prayed to that night. It took me about 4 hours. Some of them were shorter prayers, some of them were longer prayers. Muslim prayers take a little bit. You got to have the blanket and all this good stuff face the right direction and whatnot. So, but the Christian prayers are easy, man. It's like, please God give me money. Amen. That's all you got to do. And just put your hands together, make a Jesus fish, and shit, man, you're going to get money. So, no, the other day they had a beautiful event at Moore Square here in Raleigh, North Carolina. A young woman named Chase, who works for the Acorn unit here, turned me onto it the day before. Thank goodness. Thank God for her, because she was like, oh, yeah, by the way, we're doing this tomorrow. And guess what they have? Free haircuts. So it was between 10 and 2, and I headed down there, of course, and the free haircut thing was full up except for one thing. As soon as I walked up, young, very attractive young man, very well put together, and I walked up to him and he was like, you need a haircut? And I'm like, yeah, man, I really do. And he's like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, everything gone down to the skin, please. He's like, everything? I'm like, yeah, all of it, just fucking get rid of it. So I sit down in the chair. Within 5 minutes, this guy had me done, and he shaped up my eyebrows. He trimmed them down because I don't have a unibrow. What I have is mine grow out like this. Like the old, how they used to do old men in like Chinese kung fu movies. That's how my shit grows. It grows like this. It doesn't grow in here. This is the problem. Like I'll have eyebrows that are like this long. Everything else will stay relatively short, but then I'll have one that's like this. And sometimes they'll grow just off the side here. So I'll have one on my temple that's, and ladies, you may notice my tan lines. What can I say? I like wearing a bikini during the summer around my face. No, that is from just the fresh chop. Of course, the sun can't get through the thick, luxurious hair. The only spot that's probably tanned is right here, my bald spot. And I was talking to the young man yesterday doing the grooming or whatever, or doing the haircut. And I told him, I'm like, man, I've been cursed since birth. I'm going bald on top, but I got hair everywhere else. Like the hair, the section of 5 inches of the top of my crown of hair where I need it to have a full luxurious head of hair. Because don't get me wrong, whatever hair is left, like, I mean, I don't know if you see my beard and everything. Like if I maintained that and took care of it, I could grow a very, I dare say, fisherman's captain s beard. I would never dye it. I'd keep the white, stuff like that. My cousin actually, Robbie like had, a solid white hair after when he got older, and he had a nice long goatee and long white hair, and it was just like he looked like a death metal version of Gandalf. But and mine's growing, going white eventually. Sporadically here and there, it's kind of dabbled throughout. My body hair is the same way. But back to what I was saying about the hair. It's like, you know, if you look at me, I am the missing link. I am an ape. I am a fucking ape who, you know, Robin Williams levels of hairy, and the top of my head is the only place I cannot grow hair. Now, you've seen me in the previous videos with the beard and all this, and I mean, literally, it's like here, there. I mean, every square inch of. You ever seen those goddamn kids back in the day with the wolfism, the wolf disorder, and it'd be like and it happened a lot in South America. All of them seem to be like South American or Mexican, but the wolf boy and all that shit. It was a genetic mutation that happened primarily in South America, but they would have like their hair would be up to the eyes and everything like that, and they would, you know, put them in freak shows and all this stuff. But that's kind of like what I am, you know. Like, I mean, when I grow my beard out, I mean, it literally gets up to here, like, you know, the beard hair, all that stuff. I have like a little window. You know, unfortunately, I'm going bald, so my widow's peak is receding. But I mean, this is about all the thing on my body at that point when I let it go that far that doesn't have hair on it. And of course, that's a great insulation mechanism. Being a fat ass plus hairy, that's like you're insulated, man. Like you are truly insulated. And when it started getting above 50, 60 degrees every day, it was like, okay, this shit's got to go. It's a pain in the ass to maintain. You know, and I mean, if I had proper means and whatever, I still wouldn't grow my hair out. A friend of mine a while back, Phelan one day, said to me, like, you need to keep the beard and shave the head bald. Unfortunately, I mean, that's a good suggestion. It works on some men, but unfortunately for me, I've known, you know, several assholes and pricks in my life that just wore that style, and I didn't like them. And it just turned off to me. And something about it just, you know, and I mean, beard is just, you know, it's all right. It's whatever. One day in the future, I may go more adventurous and do crazy stuff with my facial hair, stuff like that. Usually, if I cut it myself, I'll take stupid pictures of me, like, you know, shaving a whatever before I cut it and shaving into the beard area. Because, I mean, it was a lot of hair. And he got it all off for me, and that was it. And he said, I said, good job, brother. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you, son. You're making daddy proud. But he was a very, very nice young man. He apparently travels across the country with this organization. He's in school right now doing, you know, becoming a hair, you know, master. I'm sure I was the easiest cut all day because I've seen a bunch of people out there, and they had a bunch of students, and I think it's from Wake Forest. That was the students, or, you know, whatever school it was from. But yeah, they were out there. They were doing this for free yesterday at Moore Square. They had a bunch of other organizations there. They even had a blood donation place that was giving you a $40 card if you donated blood. But unfortunately, I did plasma that day, so I probably wasn't going to be eligible. And that was it, man. I mean, it was a beautiful event. I come down here last night or yesterday afternoon. There was a massive protest going on against, you know, of course, the regime, the dictator, the king we've elected, the idiot, the orange orangutan. It still surprises me that there's people out there who are, I mean, you know, and then once again, I've stated this about the Trump, you know, the MAGA group and the far right and all this stuff, man. It is just so insane to me that anybody at this point, you know, and it was insane to me before that anybody could support this stupid shit. And, you know, I said that before, years ago, before he got reelected and everything. And now here we are. We're back in it again, and it's even worse. I mean, it's not even, they said his first 100 days, I mean, it's a goddamn nightmare. I mean, you know, and we still got, what, 365, 360, roughly another 1,000 some odd days of this shit. They've already brought up articles of impeachment again. At least one, you know, Democratic representative has, which, you know, fuck it. I mean, why even bother and waste the American judicial system's time? He's not going to get impeached. He's not going to get touched because it's all paid for by billionaires. The oligarch is real. They own the judges and all this shit, and all the rest of the stuff is just a show. It's just a show to make you feel like democracy is working for you anymore, which is really not. It works for the corporations and the billionaires. That's exactly the problems we face and the massive issues we face. And that's why, you know, regardless of inflation, the living wage has not gone up in years. And, you know, people have been fighting for it. You know, people have been fighting for it, but they've been shut down and ostracized, especially from, you know, the media. I mean, prime example, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was fighting and saying this shit fucking, you know, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, 16 years ago, 20 something years ago. I mean, he was talking about, he was talking about the living wage, and he's talking about this, and he's talking about that, and he's talking about the wage gaps, and blah, 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 blah. And everybody's like, okay, whatever, Grandpa, whatever. And people threw it out the fucking window. And then now here we are. Now here we are at a place and a point where, you know, I mean, realistically, in most towns, most cities, you got to start scratching $20 an hour to start living anywhere near comfortable. And most people, you know, it's like, hey, you know, go ahead and find you like 27 roommates and you guys can split the cost. And it's like, damn, dude, like who the hell wants to live with 87 people? I mean, you know, and it's like, does it really have to be like that? And then go ahead and, you know, yeah, all you got to do is find seven or 10 roommates, and then you all have to work roughly 60 hours a week. And then you guys could have, you know, your medical stuff, and then you guys could buy groceries and milk, and, you know, pay your $8,000 a month rent for a fucking closet, and yeah, you guys will be fine. It's like, dude, it should not take all this just to make, you know, and all this, mind you, while we're funneling, you know, the tax burden, while the 1% will not pay taxes or their fair share or contribute back into the economy. And we're funneling tax burden. We still can't even get affordable health care. We still can't even get affordable, you know, anything. You know, so it's just a damn mess. It's just a mess, and it's just a fucking travesty and whatever. But off of that topic, you know, let's get back to me. So I've definitely fallen way short of my goals as of the last couple of weeks. The last month has been a rough patch. But, you know, this haircut yesterday has really got me back to a level of finding work and being able to be presentable for a job, you know, finding jobs and stuff like that. You know, just got to keep it shaved at this point. We're kind of in a mad dash. Monday, I'm going to start, since I'm going to be on that side of town, I'm going to go ahead and start hitting up some places, getting some things done, putting some things together. Maybe even before then, the weekend, start trying to network with people through, you know, Nextdoor or the Old People Complaining About Stuff app. Start getting myself back on track and paying people back, and, you know, doing you know, the you know, the money means something. I don't. The money means something, you know. And this whole time I've been, you know, putting together whatever, you know, when I do start getting back in this routine, how am I going to piece this shit together? How am I going to keep my stuff safe? Where am I going to keep clothes? All this good stuff. So things will come together. Things are going to work out. I know it. Just simply because. Divine signs, I don't want to call it divine signs, but just things that happen at a certain point in time where it shows you that, you know, there's something else at work in your life and you're being carried down this path, and specific things are happening for a reason, you know? So, I mean, it's going to be what it is, and it is what it is, you know? And I hate to sound cliche, but that's exactly what it is. But yeah, you know, I know some people will see this video and be like, well, goddamn, he's homeless. He's smoking a cigarette. So what? Who gives a shit? You know, and I mean, that's has been comments made. As I suggest you go through my videos and kind of look at the comments on some of them, you know, especially when I self-identify as homeless. And some people, you know, a friend of mine told me I shouldn't do that. And it's like, fuck that. I'm going to, like, why not? You know, now, if I was gay or trans, maybe I'd have a problem, bigger problem. But, you know, no, I mean, I'm going to let people know what it's like. And I think it's interesting. And I think it's not only interesting, but I think it's also can be utilized for the future for better videos and content, like how to survive the streets, stuff like that. I'm planning on a series one day of where, you know, potentially if I ever got to the place and point, traveling across the country and just cutting everything off for, you know, everyone and everything off for, however long, or just at least my means for comforts, going on the streets in those cities and really doing deep dives into their homeless systems. Because I do believe, and I still believe, and I still argue, this fact to people today, that the homeless industrial complex is a very real thing. And obviously it is. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Look at this country. Look at the prosperity of America over the last entirety of its existence. And can you honestly come up with any kind of fathomable reason or any kind of legitimate reason as to why people are still dealing with this in the way that they are, in the manner that they are? There's no excuse for it. And if it ain't misunderstanding about the homeless situation, if it ain't stigmas that and I may even attach an article through the comments of this or through the description of this that shows you that Finland, which is an article that came out recently, Finland has done, amazing strides and work and scientifically proven and consecutively proven a cure for this. And what they did is instead of stigmatizing people and requiring people to go through laborious processes to get housing, they gave housing first and then followed up with treatments. That's the immediate need. And people shouldn't, and it worked. And it's proven, it's there on paper. They got the fucking paperwork to prove it. And their homeless rates have dropped significantly over the last years. Now, whether that's something they're just touting, whatever, and it's something that's skewed, who knows? And somebody should go out there and do a video on this and actually do a deep dive into this, the Finland homeless situation and what has actually happened through this kind of approach to it. And, that's how it is with most things, philanthropy-wise and healthcare-wise and logistical-wise and just common sense shit that isn't run by greed or piggish, asinine, ass backwards, mostly Christian philosophy influenced thinking that permeates our entire culture, and from the democratic process all the way down to everyday process. And those stigmas, that ignorance and everything like that has been completely the linchpin of all the inability to progress in this nation for the last 40 years, period. And with things like homelessness, with things like drug addiction, with things like all these other things, we just kind of put it in the back shadows and hope it's going to cure itself. Well, it's not curing itself. It's getting a lot worse. And I said it before, and I'll say it again about homelessness. It has, what it is basically, in any issue at America, there's two ways that happens to America finally decides to do something about it. Enough people die and enough middle class white people go through it. If middle-class white people ain't going through it enough, trust me, ain't shit gonna happen. But as long as it's minorities and disenfranchised people, Latin Americans, Black Americans, which is the largest portion of the homeless population right now, probably because of the largest portion of wrongfully or rightfully or prosecuted Americans has been African Americans. And once they go to prison and institutions, they, of course, cannot live anywhere near a normal life when they get out. And that's part of the system and the trap, as it were. But, like I said, as long as it's not happening to middle-class Americans, like just for example, and it's been referenced a million times, but we're going to go back to it, the Columbine disaster. School shootings and murders were happening for years before Columbine. Gang-related things, whatever, beef, whatever, it happened in poor neighborhoods, poor communities, poor whatever. You never heard about it. But then Columbine happens, and all of a sudden it's a pandemic, it's an epidemic. Oh no. And Eminem even said it in the song. It happened in middle America. Now it's a tragedy. That's right. And that's the way it is with any of this shit. And it hasn't impacted enough of white middle Americans to be an issue. But it's going to, and it's coming. And because the housing costs and all this shit is just a bubble waiting to burst. This is just something that's going to exponentially increase. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to impact everybody before it's all over with. And once again, until it starts happening to enough middle-class white people and stuff like that, it doesn't really, fucking register on American scales. And we're just going to have to wait and see, I guess. And we're just going to have to, let it play out. And yes, I understand everybody's fucking argument and excuses. That's all it is excuses. Excuses because you find one bad apple out of the bunch, you cherry pick those, you cherry pick bad examples to basically facilitate your cruelty to your fellow man. It's no different than goddamn people who walk into the ghettos of America and poor areas of America, white, black, and or other, and you walk into those areas and you just cherry pick instances and cases to where you could justify your cruelty, ineptitude, and lack of thinking about the bigger picture, which is all of us, which is where is this going to come to settle down? What is going to be the future of our nation? And at this point, it doesn't look like there is going to be much of a future for this nation. And that is, and I guess right now, I used to believe that I was fully liberal and whatever. I was never militant liberal. I was always more just liberal, but in the same turn, I could see where people were like taking the far leaning left way too far. And that's the truth. And tyranny, no matter how noble the cause, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, tyranny, no matter how noble the cause, is still fucking tyranny. It doesn't fucking matter. You go out there tomorrow and you march armies down these goddamn streets and they're all wearing helmets with little puppy dogs on them and they say, get the fuck out of your house. Go hug a puppy right now. Right? Like, pointing guns at your head and holding guns to your kids' heads and being like, go hug a puppy. Go hug a puppy. You got to hug a puppy. I mean, does it really matter why they're doing that? I mean, tyranny is still tyranny. It doesn't matter. And like I said, once again, no matter how noble the cause, tyranny is still tyranny. And, that's where I fell off a long time ago with the far left and really just couldn't get down with it because they were arguing for shit that was way out of league. And they couldn't even take a look at themselves and be like, this is tyranny. We're saying to take, rights from everyone to make sure we get rights, or this should be fair. And that's not democracy, that's retribution. And with that being said, I understand it. I get it. I get where people who have been held down and pissed on and shit on by the system feel like they need to go back and they need to do the same fucking thing. I mean, that's, and I mean, sometimes I'm torn because I feel like, eye for an eye, really. And, I'm more of a centrist, I guess is the new term for it. You're a centrist. You're a centrist. You need to pick a side in the war. No, not really, because that's exactly how we got the dumb shit happening throughout history. And, through some issues were clear cut and dry. Of course, the Civil War being the clear cut and dry issue. But ever since then, it's just been kind of muddied and muddled and whatever. And, I hope we get to a point again in this country, in this nation, where we can go back to the middle, where we can start to, get reason and stuff like that. But it's only getting worse, and it only seems to be getting more and more extremist. And there's a lot of things here in this nation where we just don't have any kind of real honest dialogue about it, or just truth, or just, whatever. And trust me, everything I ever offer you or say or do and, create through my art and everything like that, that's just my opinion, albeit opinion based on experience. I usually don't say shit or take stands unless I've been through it, experienced it, and seen it. And, I have to thank, not necessarily God, but thank fate for putting me in this position at the beginning of the pandemic and me having to go through these dead ends and these roads and just see this hypocrisy and this horse shit and this fucking corrupted, broken system for homeless, help. And really just to put me through that, basically to understand and appreciate what people who are disenfranchised go through. And I did that before, but I really didn't feel it as deeply as I do now, because I know what it's like now to be ignored, to be a ghost, to be the walking dead right in front of people who make $165,000 a year. And they're walking around in fucking Armani and Gucci suits. And You know, they're tourists. They're tourists who come and look at the animals. And, you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again to all of you. And this is my truth. I think really, you know, you get off on the fact that there's homeless people. You get off on the fact there's people walking through your goddamn gutters and stumbling through the streets and stuff like that. And a part of you, and I don't know if this is capitalist sickness or what, but a part of you feels powerful to be in the position to walk by that person and say, fuck it, I'm going to hold on to my $4 and go buy a lotto ticket and spend $85 on lotto tickets, and I ain't going to win a goddamn one and still be short on my bills. You know, some of you also are like, well, I'll help when I get $1 billion, or I'll help when I get this, or blah, 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 blah. You know, and sometimes it ain't even a money thing, man. Sometimes it's just clothing, it's food, it's whatever. And even if you go out and you make 2 peanut butter sandwiches and put some chips in a bag and a soda and you hand it to somebody who's fucking starving and dying in the goddamn streets, that's something, right? But you can't even spare that. And that's, once again, it's power. It's power over your fellow man. And like I said, I think the capitalist sickness is at the end of the day, we get power off of walking down these streets and stepping over human bodies in the street because they have nothing and I have so much. And whether it's conscious or not, it doesn't have to necessarily be conscious. And in some regards too, it's something where it's like, you know, I've said this before, it's a fear mechanism. You know, people like that keep you turning on the wheel because you don't want to be down there with them. So that's why they're allowed to pollute your streets and scatter all over the roads and stuff like this. And trust me, literally, it's like, you know, at times I kind of wonder what in God's name is going on with it, because I see people literally losing their minds, literally going insane. And people are just like, the cops, the police, the people are just like, okay, whatever. You know, like, and I think that's just a sign of too that they're kind of at a loss. I mean, and you know, we look at police and stuff like that and we judge them, and rightfully so, we should judge them by a higher standard, but in the same term, we also got to appreciate what they have to go through on a daily fucking basis that isn't even related to any kind of 99.9% of the stuff that they have to do now is become a psychologist carrying a gun. And yes, there has been police brutality and horrible police issues, but there has also been amazing instances of police philanthropy and patience and understanding. Because trust me, with some of the stuff I've seen up here, if these cops were all bad, these people would be dead. They would be shot in the street. Like, these crazy, unhinged, really psychologically damaged people would be dead. There would be no question about it. Public viewing or not, these cops would not care. And in some instances, maybe that is what happened to corrupt and destroy the minds of some of these people. And you know, there's a lot of there's stuff that happens out there, man, that I'm sure that a police faces, and it's like, you know, especially nowadays, especially after the public incidents, where they pull up and automatically it's like, fuck you, pig. I mean, it was kind of like that before, to be completely honest with you. I mean, calling cops pigs and all this stuff is not something new in America, but especially after the police brutality came out, it's like, I'm sure they get a lot of shit. And you know, you're carrying a gun and you may be having a bad day regardless, and then all of a sudden somebody goes off on you. I mean, it takes a very special and unique and very steadfast and amazingly strong person to be like, okay, I'm not going to hurt this person. I'm going to sit here and take this and do whatever. So anyways, enough ranting. We're shaved up. We're done up. We're going to try to get some things done, man. If you could please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and there's donation links below. If you could do anything to help out, I'd greatly appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Take care of each other, and I love you.